As major party leaders fan out across the country to deliver their messages to voters, one party's relationship with the media has come into focus. According to an analysis done by our colleagues at Radio-Canada, Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre has answered fewer questions from journalists than other leaders. Poilievre only answered 79 questions from reporters during the first half of the campaign. That's less than half the number answered by Liberal leader Mark Carney, and it trails the number answered by the NDP's Jagmeet Singh and the Bloc Québécois' Yves-François Blanchet. For more on this, I want to bring in Jeffrey Dvorkin. He's the former director of the journalism program at the University of Toronto. Jeffrey, nice to see you. Thank you for taking the time.
Nice to be with you, Andrew.
So what's your reaction to those numbers compiled by Radio-Canada?
Well, I'm surprised they're as small as they are, but election campaigns are funny things. The journalists need the politicians need the journalists, but there's a kind of mutual resentment that tends to grow over the course of a campaign. And this campaign is fairly short-lived. And it's pretty clear, I think, to me anyway, that maybe the tensions in the Conservative Party is an indication of bigger problems, that it feels to me like the wheels are coming off the Conservative campaign to a certain extent. And there's a certain resentment, natural resentment, that always is allowed to fester inside these campaigns. I think we're seeing more of it on the Conservative side of the campaign than on the Liberal or the NDP side.
Why do you think the wheels are coming off? Or why do you say that? Why do you say that? Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the polls are starting to indicate that even though it seems to be a close-run thing, the polls are indicating that the Liberals seem to be going ahead of the Conservatives. Mm-hmm. And the Conservatives, in their campaigning, they still have, there was a sense in the Conservative campaign that they really missed Justin Trudeau. They were planning on running against him, and now they're not. So there's a certain frustration that's been being built into the campaign, and I think we're seeing some of the results of that right now.
The Conservative leader is being very specific about which media outlets can ask him questions. It's usually just 4 questions. There are no follow-up questions. And we know that there's no plane where the media who pay to be on the plane, there's no following the leader on the plane. That's led to some complications in terms of covering the Conservatives. I want to play a clip from an exchange yesterday and get your reaction. Have a listen.
And I will not allow, and I will not allow that kind of thing to happen anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now take a call-in question from the phone line, and this will be the final question.
Your financial support for the Conservative Party. Is that why you're not getting a security clearance?
Sorry, I'm listening to the question. Sorry, there's just a protester here. Go ahead.
It's a reporter trying to ask a legitimate question.
We're listening. We're trying to listen for the next person who was up asking a question.
All right, so Jeffrey, that was, by the way, CTV's Judy Trinh. That was not a protester, and she said that's a reporter trying to ask a question. I think she was not on the list because it's a very short list, and just your reaction to that.
Well, the parties actually don't need the mainstream media as much as they once did. With social media everywhere, it's perhaps easier, if not necessarily more effective, for the parties to get their message out on the internet rather than through the intermediary of a reporter on the campaign trail. So there's a lot of, as I say, a lot of mutual frustration, both by the journalists and by the parties, who feel that they are, the arrangement isn't well done. They're not being well served by having this relation, and I think tensions are rising.
And just tell me more about that exchange and just, because at the end of the day, I mean, it's Canadians are going to vote, and so Canadians want to know what these leaders have to say and how they answer questions about important issues, whatever they may be. In that case, it was about questions around why Pierre Poilievre has not had his national security clearance.
Right. And I think that one of the issues that we're seeing being dredged up are some of the frustrations that came out of the last Parliament. The Conservative leader, Mr. Poilievre, was very good in his role as a kind of an attack dog in Parliament. Keeping that role on the campaign trail isn't exactly working for him. And so the tensions between the Conservative leader and the media are starting to be more apparent. And frankly, Mr. Poilievre was never very comfortable answering questions from reporters. You may recall there was a young reporter in British Columbia trying to just do his job, asking Mr. Poilievre some questions, and the Conservative leader was chewing an apple and not really feeling a sense of disdain towards this young reporter. And I think that that's still a vague theme inside the Conservative campaign.
Because, Jeffrey, there are those Conservatives who love that moment, who like that when there's pushback against the media. They think that that plays very well, does it?
Well, it does. I mean, parties can never go too wrong for a while in beating up on the media. There is a general antipathy, unfortunately, that has grown because of the presence of the internet to see the media and the press as kind of enemies of the people. And the Republicans have played that very well in the United States, and I fear that some of that has leached over across the border.
Why do you fear that? What tell us about the fear around that and your concern around that?
Well, the relationship between the parliamentary press gallery and the parties has never really been smooth. There are always tensions, and that's appropriate because the role of the media is to hold the politicians to account. For the politicians, the role of the media is to transmit their message in as clear a way and as positive a way as possible. And obviously that's where the dilemma occurs. That's where the conflict arises.
What do you think? So getting back to that, should there be that combative kind of relationship? I mean, what should journalists do if they are facing leaders that are reluctant to do, whether it's scrums or other maybe sit-down interviews? There's been some criticism around the Liberal leader, for instance, around that. I mean, what should journalists do?
Well, journalists are not stenographers. That's the first thing. Journalists are there to get answers out of the politicians that may be a bit uncomfortable, but will serve the interests of the electorate in a better way. And frankly, the politicians have shown that they kind of resent the presence of the political press on the campaign trail and in Ottawa. But it's a constant tension, and the question is, how pushy can journalists be without alienating the attention of the audience of the citizens? That's the challenge. Where's that balancing act? How do you do it?
Jeffrey, thank you. Jeffrey Dvorkin is a former director of the journalism program at the University of Toronto.